It's exactly 1 p.m. East African time. Good afternoon. This is KBC Lunchtime News. Glad you could make time. Indeed, we have a lot in store, but before we begin this, let me introduce to you my sign language interpreter, Lensa Odingo, who is on the bottom right of your screen. Glad you could make time. And of course, it's always a pleasure having you around, so kindly your comments, suggestion, or even where you are watching us from are highly welcome. Now, straight to the news. My name is Njue, and we do begin on a disturbing note where police have exhumed the body of a 2-year-old girl who was killed and secretly buried by her stepfather 2 years ago in Silare village of Laikipia County. The remains had been buried in a gunny bag less than 20 meters from the suspect's house.
Residents of Silale village in Laikipia County watched in disbelief as police exhumed the body of a 2-year-old girl who is said to have been killed and buried by her stepfather 2 years ago. According to her mother, 26-year-old Njue, the main suspect, Hudson Nyamwamba Oburi, aged 27 years, killed the minor on the 24th of December 2020 by hitting her on the head. Lister says she returned home from the river and found her daughter lying on the ground unconscious, and upon inquiry, the suspect told her that his motorcycle had fallen on the minor.
Nikamwambia tumchukue hospitali, akasema hapana. Enyewe venye niliangalia mtoto hakuwa na shida vile. Akaniambia nirudi nichukue nguo zingine zenye zilikuwa zimebaki kwa mtoni. Kwenda hizo nguo zenye zimebaki mtoni kurudi, hata sikuwa nimefika mtoni, alinifuata kutoka nyumba akaniambia mtoto aongei. Kufika kwa nyumba nikapata mtoto amekufa.
She said the suspect refused to take her to hospital and threatened to kill her if she revealed to anyone the whereabouts of the minor.
Alinishika mdomo akaniambia nisipige nduru. Akachukua mtoto akachimba shimo akamzika. Niko na imani ama niko na usuni, watu wataniulizia, wataniambia mbona sikusema mapema. Maisha yenye nilikuwa naishi nayo ilikuwa maisha ngumu. Nilikuwa natishiwa maisha. Kiniambia nikifanya makosa tu hivi nikisema ataniua.
Area Chief Joseph Muraya said Lister confessed to him and police officers at Sirale Police Post on the 25th of January this year that her husband had killed their daughter.
Akiwa Maina bado alikuwa anaibaiba motorbike, anatoroka, anaenda narudi. Kwa hivyo ni mtu ambaye akiwa area yangu kule Maina alikuwa na makesi mingi, lakini akawa ni mtu ambaye ni si pale anatoroka.
Na kila mtu amestuka kwa huo mstuko, ingalao tungependa justice ionekane ndio tujue ukweli uko wapi.
The exhumed body parts were moved to the Nyahururu County Referral Hospital mortuary for autopsy. Nancy Okware, Lunchtime News.
Elsewhere, a Form 4 student alongside 2 other people have been charged with attempted murder. Emily Ndunge, together with Josephine Mbula and Ben Katana, are accused of trying to kill a nominated MCA from Garissa County, Teresia Queen, on January 11th by lacing her drugs with poison.
Appearing before Chief Magistrate Cosmas Maundu, defense lawyer Nelson Mandela urged the court to grant the accused favorable bail terms since they have been cooperating with investigating authorities. Mandela asked for leniency on Emily since he's a KCSE candidate this year. The 3 have been released on a 3,000 shillings cash bail. And police in Cherangani, Trans Nzoia County, are investigating the death of a 27-year-old security guard at the Cherangani Dairy Group. A night security guard who was reporting for a night shift discovered the lifeless body hanging on the roof of the toilet. Area Sub-County Police Commander Okumu Dulo says Dismas Kimutai Cheruyot was killed by unknown people under unclear circumstances. Management of the Cherangani Dairy Group condemned the attack and asked for speedy investigations.
The factory security guard was discovered in the female's toilet, having been murdered. We also saw a trace of blood, which indicated that he might have been murdered elsewhere and dragged to the female toilet. He also had a rope around the neck, which was tied to the frame of the latrine.
Walinzi hapa Kenya wamekuwa wakiwawa kwa njia ya kiholela holela, na tungependa wapewe silaha na wawe trained so that wizi itapungua.
Away from that, let's now shift our focus to other matters where over 60 women leaders drawn from Nairobi's Kiambu and Motherland Informal Settlement and the Eastleigh Section 3 have been trained as peace ambassadors. The three-day training kicked off in Kiambu and was concluded in Eastleigh, with the women now saying they will use the training to preach peace in their homestead and the community.
The last day of the three-day training on peace ambassadors ended with the newly trained women sharing a meal and flowers to mark the beginning of their ambassadorial duties. The women now say they will use the knowledge they have received from the training to champion for peaceful campaigns and avoid violent occurrences.
Tume-experience fujo kwa miaka iliyopita na tutaki ku-experience fujo tena, na saa hii tumefundishwa venye tutaenda huko nje na kuambia wamama wenzetu, mabwana zetu, mandugu zetu, watoto wetu, vijana wetu, jinsi ya kukaa kwa jamii na amani.
The women leaders further called on other women in other parts of the country to be voices of peace during the political season.
Hatutaki ile ya kukosana na majirani zetu ambao tumeishi nao miaka mingi, tunakosana ati juu ya mtu fulani, ati ni mwanasiasa fulani, na hata kuwa na sisi kesho.
Kitu ya maana ni kuchagua leader ambaye mnajua ataweza kuwasaidia, na leader ambaye amekuwa na nyinyi na anajua shida zenu.
The training covered the areas of Kiambu Slum, Motherland Slum and Eastleigh Section 3. Yusufar reporting for Lunchtime News.
And now to the corridors of justice. A middle-aged woman has been charged by the Ruiru Law Courts with 4 counts, among them forgery, false swearing and obtaining registration by false pretenses. Teresia Waidera Kiriu appeared before senior resident magistrate and was released on a bond of 3 million shillings or a cash bail of 800,000 shillings after she pleaded not guilty to the offense.
Waidera is said to have on 31st December 1982 swore falsely at Joshua Walter Onyango and Company Advocates offices in Nairobi that she was allocated a parcel of land by Nyakenywa Investment Limited and issued with a share certificate number 03167 as a member. She is also said that on May 1992, she forged a title deed with the intent of defrauding the late Wairemo Kiriu, purporting it to have been opened and signed by the then District Land Registrar Kiambu, the late Alexandra Morioki. On count 3 and 4, Waithera is charged with obtaining registration by false pretense, contrary to Section 320 with the intent to defraud. Waithera willfully and unlawfully procured herself the registration of a 0.3944 hectares of land in Njue, valued at 80 million shillings. Her case will be mentioned on 28th of February 2022. Reporting for Lunchtime News, I'm Wamboi Otiende.
In other news, a local community-based organization in Samburu County has established 9 pad banks that will issue sanitary towels to women at no cost. The initiative targets newly married young women and primary school girls.
Menstrual hygiene has become a thorn in the flesh for most women across the country, a burden that has seen most of the marginalized communities undergo unmentioned torture.
Kitambo wasichana wetu walikuwa wakienda shule walikuwa na shida ya pads, lakini sasa wakati wao walikuja kutusaidia, sasa tunakuja tu kushukua hapa, hata wasichana wako safe wakienda shule.
In Samburu County, a nursing officer in charge of Ledero Dispensary, Jane Letole, says sometimes girls and women are forced to use rags that expose them to infection.
Walikuwa wanatumia rags, especially the blankets, just to protect themselves. Lakini hata hivyo inawasaidia, but hygienically usafi iko chini, na wengi wao wanakuja wakati wamepata maradha ya ugonjwa infections. So wanakuja hospitali, wanakuja kutafuta matibabu, na hiyo ninaona saa zingine kama sisi hatuna hizo matibabu, ukimwambia enda atafute kwingine ni ina cost hour. So tuliona ilikuwa hiyo kigarama ni garama wakati hizo.
Absa Bank, in partnership with Bright Future Foundation, has opened 9 pass banks at Ledero Dispensary to help ease the burden. The pad banks are providing free sanitary towels to 500 girls and women from Ledero village in a month.
But through this partnership with ABSA, we've been able to get a big consignment and widened the scope of the program to a wider geographical location. And the whole scope of what Bright Future does really fits well into what we believe as ABSA in terms of diversity and inclusion, and just being able to give girls an equal opportunity. And so for us, when we hear that more girls are coming to school every day because they can be able to have a sanitary pad during that time in the month, and therefore that means that this girl is able to complete her studies and be able to have a more promising future than when they have to drop out of school once every week of the month. That is like almost 12 weeks in a year.
The bank, according to the promoters, will continue to support the initiative in ensuring more people have benefited. Ruth Wamboi for Lunchtime News.
In other news, residents of Eremit village in Kajiado, West Sub-County, are set to benefit from a 26 million shillings communal water project funded by the World Bank under the Kenya Climate Smart Agriculture Project. The funds will see the rehabilitation of Eremit Springs, which has been severely affected by the ravaging drought.
The Emirate Springs Protection and Irrigation Project will see 1,200 households engage in agribusiness as well as have safe drinking water.
Nashukuru sana Njue lengo anakuja kutusaidia sisi kuwekea hiyo maji pipe. Sisi tunashukuru sana kuja kunywa maji safi.
Kama sasa kwa sababu hapa nyanya itaingia hapa sana na tena melon. Hapa ni mahali ya hizo vitu.
Locals, however, call on the county government to initiate strict measures against illegal logging to protect the springs. Kajiado Governor Joseph Olelengu has lauded the partnership with the World Bank, saying it will elevate the lives of the locals who have been suffering in silence.
Nilikuja hapa miaka 2 zilizopita nikaahidi hii community kwamba kama gavana wao serikali yangu itashirikiana na washikadau wengine ili tuweze kusaidia ombi lao. Nataka sana kushukuru World Bank kwa hiyo mradi ya KSAP ambaye pamoja na pesa za county ndio wameweka pesa nyingi ili kusaidia kufanikisha hii mradi.
The project is set to be completed in the next 6 months. For Lunchtime News, I'm Brian Muindi.
Let's now focus on matters health, where Kenyans have been urged to be cognizant of their lifestyle to reduce the risk factors that are accelerating the increase of non-communicable diseases. Speaking in Kiambere Level 3 Hospital in Mbere South Sub-County, local leaders said that non-communicable diseases account for 50% of all patients at the county facilities. Residents called for more community revolving pharmacies in the area that can offer drugs at subsidized rates. Embu County has only 2 community revolving pharmacies supported by Doctors Without Borders, MFS, and which serve a large population.
The Ministry of Health through the Department of Non-Communicable Diseases has adopted a vision for achieving a nation free from preventable burdens of NCDs. Further, the missions of this strategy is to halt and reverse the rising burdens of NCDs through effective multi-sectoral collaborations and partnership.
Let's have a look at the politics of the day, where a section of Orange Democratic Movement ODM leaders from Garissa County have dismissed allegations that Raila Odinga is a state project. The leaders say Raila is the people's choice and can only be a project for the people.
Speaking during the ODM's Garissa branch consultative meeting in Garissa, the leaders led by County Assembly Minority Leader Muhammad Ali Rabish claimed that ODM party leader was a state project.
So wafugaji wheelbarrow haitusaidii. Hata ibebi sisi na wafugaji ngamia ng'ombe hata mbuzi hawezi beba. So tunaambia sisi ni watu ya Azimio na mwenye macho haambiwi tazama. The writings is on the wall, and the northern region and the larger pastoral community are in support 100% for Azimio la Umoja movement.
Abdi Weli, branch secretary for ODM in Garissa County, said that only the former Prime Minister has the best interest for the pastoral community.
We can assure now that Baba and Uhuru are together. The election was past 50 or 60%. Now our target is over 80%. And those people who are dreaming that Baba is a project, we want to tell them very clearly that Baba is a project of the people.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Yes. Also, a senatorial aspirant and Amani Sasa Foundation CEO Maina Njenga has urged communities living in Laikipia County to discard tradition that stir enmity in a bid to foster peaceful coexistence with each other. Speaking while unveiling his senatorial bid, Njenga called for political tolerance ahead of the August general election.
Haya mambo yote tutaifanya kwa kushikana mikono. Kwa kushikana mikono, hiyo inaitwa unity. Ukosefu wa umoja ni jambo moja ambalo litatutetea shida katika nchi yetu na nchi ya Laikipia. Ukosefu wa umoja, watu wa Remuruti na watu wa Laikipia, watu wa Kenya, tushikane mikono, tutafute umoja.
A group of Isiolo women from various ethnic communities have in the meantime lashed out at politicians from the county who met the president at State House 3 days ago, accusing them of not representing the interests of Isiolo people.
Tuko hapa leo, juzi kuna watu wa jamii moja wakaenda State House. Wakasema ya kwamba hao wanataka viti 5 wote wa Isiolo kutoka governor hadi ya chini. Sababu sasa ni wakati wa siasa. Na Isiolo kuna jamii 47, 49 wako hapa kila kabila. Na wanasema sisi tu ndo tutatawala na hawa ndo majority katika Isiolo. Na hiyo ndo hatuwezi kukubaliana na hawa.
And Western Regional Commissioner Isaiah Nakuru has warned politicians against incitement and use of abusive language as the country enters an electioneering period. Nakuru warned that security agencies are on high alert and that decisive action will be taken against such politicians in accordance with the law.
Wale ambao wengine wana nia ya kufikiria kwamba wakituzu wengine wakichochea wanaweza kupata kura, vyuma vyao viko mkono, kwa sababu tutawachukulia hatua. Wale wote ambao watachochea, wale ambao wengine watatumia vijana kwa njia mbaya.
Very well, you are watching KBC Lunchtime News at about 20 minutes past the hour. We are due for our first break, but when we come back, we have business news on all the latest from the Winter Olympics in sports. Don't go away.
The government of Kenya adopted universal health coverage (UHC) as one of the big 4 priority agenda, with an aspiration that by 2022 all citizens will have access to quality healthcare services that they need without getting into financial hardships. Don't suffer in silence. Visit the nearest healthcare facility and access affordable healthcare services that are now offered under the Universal Health Coverage Benefit Package delivered through NHIF. For those who can afford, please remember to pay the monthly contribution of 500 shillings. The government has put mechanisms for assisting those who cannot afford to pay. Register biometrically at the nearest NHIF office. Your family's health matters to us. NHIF. Leave no one behind.
Na kuona wewe una siri moyoni mwako.
You know very well, kila mtu ushika na mashida at some point.
Umemalizana na bill?
Shalipa. Kitambo.
I missed you, but nafurahi umekuwa sawa sasa. I missed you too.
Mimi sikuwa na pochi yako. Niwe nao kwa madhumuni gani?
Jiulize wewe. Kuna mambo yangu ya kibinafsi ambayo siwezi kutuma na mtu. Haswa huyo nyota wako.
De traición.
Leonardo, come on, we don't want to be late. Leonardo's not protecting Mariela because he sees her as a daughter, but because he's in love with her. He wants her for himself.
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723-892-654 or 0734-780-124.
Welcome back. This is KBC Lunchtime News. Just in case you joined us, we continue with our news. The latest news is that Murang'a Women Representative Sabina Shege's 2017 rigging claims will now proceed to full hearing after the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission dismissed preliminary objections submitted by her legal team. The Murang'a legislator, who appeared before IEBC's Code of Conduct Committee led by the Commission's chairperson, Wafula Chebukati, had sought to have the summons stood down, claiming through her legal team that the matter could open a can of worms in the coasted 2017 general election, a move dismissed by IEBC.
Clause 6A of the Code requires that during the election period, political parties, members of political parties, and indeed all those bound by the Electoral Code of Conduct must publicly and repeatedly condemn violence, intimidation, and avoid the use of hate speech, language, or any kind of action which may lead to violence or intimidation. The respondent herein is a member of Jubilee Party and a serving Murang'a County woman, a member of the National Assembly, having been elected on a Jubilee Party ticket. Indeed, Jubilee Party is a registered political party which has submitted its nomination rules to the Commission and given indication that it will be participating in the 2022 general election. In the premises, the respondent is subject to the Electoral Code of Conduct and is under duty to abide with the same. The Electoral Code of Conduct Enforcement Committee has jurisdiction and is legally seized of the matter before it for hearing and determination. We make the following orders. 1, that the preliminary objection raised by counsel for the respondent on 15th February 2022 is hereby dismissed. And 2, this matter shall proceed to full hearing.
Two things that are important. One is that the committee disclosed that although the summons said they had received a report and some materials, they say now they did not receive a report they decided to investigate this of their own motion. And that is that they allege that the Honorable Sabina Chege uttered some words on 10th of February, and they issued the summons of 11th of February. And they claim they are not clear as to who initiated it or who indeed recorded what now they want to give to us.
Presentations are out of context. The full text of what she said has not formed the basis of the breach that the Electoral Commission is talking about. And therefore, we are going to mount a challenge, and a big one.
And we will be keeping our eyes peeled for that to keep you abreast with how that matter unfolds. Moving on, county secretaries, have raised concerns over what they term as humiliation and political witch hunt. They say despite the office's constitutional protection, they continue to face a number of challenges which remain a stumbling block to their service delivery.
Speaking during the County Secretaries Forum, County Secretaries Chairman Dr. Ahmed Galgalo said lack of job security remains a hurdle in discharging their mandate.
In as much as we have made the above milestone achievement, the forum is still overwhelmed by a litany of challenges in discharging their mandate, which require concerted effort to overcome. Challenges are there. These included non-existence of job security, devoid of security of tenure. More often than not, this will impede work performance. It will be prudent if this issue is given due consideration.
The conference was organized by the Intergovernmental Technical Relations Committee that is tasked to handle intergovernmental relations between the two levels of government through cooperation, consultation and coordination. IGRTC Acting Chairman John Burugu underscored the role of county secretaries in the running of the affairs of county governments for effective devolution. He was, however, concerned by the high number of county senior officials who have resigned to join politics.
Is that I note the large number of county executives and county officers who have resigned from their positions to pursue political interests. Though IGRTC may not have the complete breakdown of the executives or the officers concerned, their fears or concerns for the impact that may have on continued and uninterrupted service delivery.
Beatrice Gatonyangetich, Lunchtime News.
Away from that, members of the giant Udheri Walari land buying company in Maimahiu, Nakuru County, have faulted the government for failing to end the protracted land disputes involving their vast land in Naivasha. The group chairman, Stephen Muiru, says the new invasion had locked out the members who are farmers from accessing their land or even farming, while others had fled. The chairman continues to say that after 7 years after the High Court ruled that they are the bona fide owners of the 22,000 acres in Maimahiu, Naivasha, their woes have continued to deepen day after day. Their agony has now been worsened after tens of illegal herders from the nearby Kajiado and Narok counties invaded their land, which is situated next to the multi-billion industrial park. However, the Naivasha Deputy County Commissioner Mutua Kisilu admitted that there were rising cases of land disputes in the area.
The group chairman, Stephen Muiru, says 7 years after the High Court ruled that they were the bona fide owners of the 22,000 acres in Maimahiu, Naivasha, their woes have continued to deepen day after day.
Shamba ni yetu. Parliament ilikuja hapa radi committee ya parliament ikasema shamba ni yetu. Minister wa agriculture akasema shamba ni yetu. Kwa hivyo hatuoni sababu yoyote ya kusema ya kwamba tusiingie kwa mashamba yetu.
Nauliza na hujakuja kutuona hapa, na ni sisi tuko na title ya hiyo mashamba, na mnasema kuna IDP, na ni kweli tuko IDP. Ni nani atakuja kuturudisha chichi? Wewe Uhuru Muigai wa Kenyatta ukitoka, na wazazi wetu walikufa, na hii shamba ni yetu na tulinunua, na kila mtu iko na title. Ukitoka ni nani atakuja kuturudisha?
Their agony has now been worsened after tens of illegal herders from the nearby Kajiado and Nakuru counties invaded their land, which is situated next to the multi-billion industrial park.
Kabla Uhuru undoke, utuangalie na utukumbuke. Tumekuangalia na wewe siku zote.
Kama mtu amenunua shamba na alinunua kupitia njia ya haki, kila mtu akaweze kurejeshwa mahali ambapo anafaa.
However, the Naivasha Deputy County Commissioner Mutua Kisilu admitted that there were rising cases of land dispute in the area. Timothy Kipnoso for Lunchtime News.
Let's now shift focus to matters education, where the Principal Secretary for Curriculum Reforms in the Ministry of Education, Professor Fatuma Shege, says junior secondary schools will be domiciled in secondary schools. Professor Shege says it's only surplus classrooms in a primary school that will be used to accommodate junior secondary, but the schools will be managed by independent boards.
Professor Chege was sought to clear the air on the ongoing debate about the placement of the pioneer batch of grade 6 candidates under 26333 curriculum to junior secondary schools, said that much as there are primary schools which will host junior secondary schools, the management and the administration in such instances will be independent from that of the primary school.
During the third conference of education, which was presided over by His Excellency the President pronounced himself very, very clearly that junior secondary school will be domiciled in secondary school.
Professor Chege said if for any reason a junior secondary school class is accommodated in surplus classrooms in a primary school, it will mean that they will be managed by the primary school's boards.
A junior secondary school class will be accommodated in surplus classrooms in a primary school. That is accommodation. They do not belong to the primary school. They are domiciled in the subsector of secondary, so they'll have their own administration.
The PS was speaking in St. Maria Goretti Ruguruti Secondary School in Othaya, Nyeri County, where she commissioned the first complete classroom built under the competence-based curriculum project. The government is putting up additional learning space for the more than 1 million students set to join junior secondary schools this year as the country shifts from the 844 to the CBC.
And still on education, pupils from Morijo Primary School in Loita area, Narok South Sub-County have benefited from over 3,000 exercise books donated by Ajuma Foundation in partnership with Chipa Cash. The foundation's founder, Ms. Ajuma Nasenyana, said they had kicked off a countrywide donation of educational and recreational resources to underprivileged students around the country. The foundation targets over 20,000 students in 60 primary schools in hard-to-reach areas across 18 counties. The initiative aims at giving the learners hope and motivation to work hard in school.
Can't see, a future after primary school. So this is something I really try to mentor the children in.
Shule ya chekechea mpaka darasa la 8 wote wamepata vitabu. Hiyo itasaidia wanafunzi.
Initiative is really to look out for those communities where the parent is having a problem with being able to provide something as basic as an exercise book to a child. And we have seen that need is there, especially in marginalized communities and in communities that are remote. And as a result, as part of our CSR pillar for education, we have partnered with Ajuma to finance and fund this initiative.
Moving on, Kenya National Farmers Federation, KENAF, has launched a 5-year strategic plan that would enhance both climate mitigation and a sustainable agri-food system. The initiative aims at greening the forest cover across the country, where over 10 million trees will be planted in a period of 10 years through mobilizing all grassroots farmers.
Deputy Director, Research and Development, Kenya Forestry Research Institute, KEFRI, Jane Njagona, representing Environment Cabinet Secretary Keriako Tobiko, noted that the initiative was a pillar enlisted by President Uhuru Kenyatta in his goals towards achieving climate change.
This program is very appropriate because in the rural areas, 80% of Kenyan households use biomass energy. Yes or no? Yes. Yes or no? Yes. Yes, they use biomass energy. And women by nature, we don't plant trees. Yeah? Because we don't own the land. And the discussion keeps going on and on. Now the Constitution gives us the right to own land.
Meanwhile, Kenya National Farmers Federation Chief Executive Officer Daniel Mailutha believes Kenyan farmers are critical in contributing to a sustainable agri-food system in the country.
This is a commitment we are making to the government of Kenya. There is a target to meet 10% forest cover. There is also a target, in fact, the government says once we meet 10%, we should exceed. We should go beyond 10%. There is an initiative called the Greening Kenya Initiative. So we are making this commitment. We as the National Farmers Organization are...
The government has also committed to leveraging on the innovation and knowledge of the youth and women to drive value chain development.
The Lake Turkana Wind Power Project has been hailed for its contribution to the growth of education standards in Laisamis, Marsabit County. Through its corporate social responsibility program, the project is sponsoring thousands of learners in the region, as well as financing school feeding programs to help retain pupils in school.
Located at the heart of Marsabit County, Laisamis constituency is perhaps one of the regions with the harshest climatic conditions in the country. A school feeding program is taking root in the region, saving thousands of locals from the demanding condition brought by the ever-burning sun.
Waliweza kupeana chakula kwa mashule na wakaweza kutuvunguzia mzigo sisi kama serikali kuu, kwa sababu ile chakula yote tulikuwa tunapata ya serikali kuu ambayo inatakiwa ipelekewe wananchi kwa jumla, hiyo chakula tulikuwa tunangawia mashule, kwa sababu already tulikuwa na programu ya kwamba watoto wenye wako nje ya mashule waweze kurudi mashule.
Sponsored by the Lake Turkana Wind Power Project, the program has seen thousands of learners continue with studies uninterrupted. The Lake Turkana Wind Power Company Community Liaison Manager Job Lengoyap and the Assistant County Commissioner Charles Mbole lauded the school management committees for ensuring that the donation was put in the intended use.
Napofikia wakati huu tunajua hali ya kiangazi bado inaendelea, na tunatarajia kwamba kutakuwa na wakati tutapata nafuu, lakini mbele ya hiyo tunaomba tu maofisi yetu yote ya serikali yaweke mikakati ili tuweze kupambana na janga la njaa kwa wakati huu.
The power company is also donating food items to local.
Mzigo ya wasasi imepungua kwa sababu wakati ule mwingine kuna kiangazi na hakuna chakula, lakini sasa mzigo ya mzazi imepungua kwa siku hizi 5 za wiki ambayo watoto wanakula chakula.
For Lunchtime News, I'm Zainab Said.
Indeed, we are due for our second break, but don't go away. We still have more news in the business and the world of sports after this short break. Welcome back. And in business, Uganda's central bank has said the country's economy is on a strong rebound after the easing of COVID-19 restrictions that were closing out some sectors. Between the months of October 2021 and February 2022, high-frequency indicators showed that the country's economy was on a recovery trend. Here are the details of this and much more from across Africa.
Domestic demand is making a strong comeback as COVID-19 related restrictions have been eased in Uganda, adding to the gains of robust external demand. The real gross domestic product of Uganda is projected to grow by around 6% as domestic demand recovery broadens. Annual growth is likely to go above 7% in the medium term as government investment in infrastructure is expected to enhance productive capacity and coupled with increased social spending and recovery in tourism. Meanwhile, South Africa mining company Sibanye Stillwater is set to meet unions this week over a looming strike at its gold operations in the country. The Commissions for Conciliations, Mediation and Arbitration, which has been mediating between the two sides, cleared the unions to give strike notice a month ago after declaring an impasse in wage talks. Even after the company tabled its final offer to increase underground workers' wages by 800 rands a month in each of the 3 years under negotiations, artisans and officials will get a 5% increase over the same period. The workers' union still rejected it. Currently, the mining industry employs more than 450,000 people and accounts for about 8% of the economy. Finally, commuters in Nigeria are feeling the squeeze as transportation prices are surging due to high vehicle maintenance costs and swelling fuel subsidies. The intra-city transport fares have surged by a staggering 283% in the last 4 years. The increase in fares has also fed through into the price of food as retailers are passing on costs to customers. The government has blamed the situation on the expense of subsidizing fuel, which it said has led to its inability to fund its road infrastructure.
Back home, Kenya is banking on the export market to spur the market subsector that is facing a myriad of problems. The country is targeting the European and Asian markets that have a huge demand for the commodity. The Coast Development Authority Managing Director Dr. Mohamed Kainan has said the country is also investing in processing plants in high mango production areas.
Kenya is a major producer of mangoes in the world, ranking 4th in Africa and position 10 globally. It is estimated that Kenya produces almost 2% of mangoes produced in the world. Mango is the second highest exported fruit in Kenya, contributing to 11% of total fruit export, with a value of 15 billion Kenyan shillings, according to the Directorate of Horticulture Development. However, despite its huge potential, mango farmers in the country face major challenges due to pesticide, post-harvest losses, and lack of cold storage and processing facilities. To address these challenges, the government, through the Coastal Development Authority, is constructing various mango processing plants in high-producing counties, especially at the coast.
Mbeleni, hii biashara ilikuwa na uzito wake ilikuweko kuna brokers wanakuja kuingilia hii biashara wakitununulia kwa bei mbaya ambao kuwa kidogo haiende kumfaidi mkulima. But kupata kiwanda cha CDA hapa karibu kidogo kimeanza kuleta mabadiliko.
Last year, the country reached a deal with the European Union to start the export of the commodity to the bloc, almost 8 years since the country embarked on a self-imposed ban to deal with cases of fruit flies.
We realized that many of our mango farmers go through some processes of post-harvest losses. That's how we found that it's very necessary to put this manufacturing factory. We crush the mangoes into pulp, then sell the pulp to the ready market.
So far, CDA has commissioned a 190 million shillings mango processing plant in Tana River County with a capacity to crush 1.5 tons of mangoes per hour. Tana River produces 223,360,000 tons of mangoes annually. Reporting for Lunchtime News, I am Teresa Mutai.
Kenya has launched an aggressive tourism campaign targeting wealthy Middle East tourists. The country has made a strong pitch at the ongoing Dubai Expo, which is a global tourism meet. Tourism Cabinet Secretary Najib Balala has said Kenya is marketing itself as a premier meeting, sports and investment hub in Africa. Dubai is growing as a major source of visitors to Kenya in the last 5 years, attracting 11,000 visitors in 2021.
The tourism sector in Kenya has been one of the hardest hit by the COVID-19 pandemic, with arrivals falling by more than 60% in the last 2 years. However, following the reopening of the economy last year, the sector is fast bouncing back, with arrivals expected to eclipse pre-pandemic levels by 2023. The country has launched various initiatives to market the country as an ideal meetings, leisure, sports and investment destination in Africa. Tourism Cabinet Secretary Najib Balala has said the country is targeting the Middle and Far East markets to drive the numbers up. Balala says the lifting of ban on transit passenger flights from Kenya to Dubai is expected to open up Kenya to a wider scope. The week-long expo, which began yesterday and end on February 18th, will see Kenya honored as one of the participants in the expo. The event brings together more than 190 countries from across the globe. The Kenya Tourism Board has said the government's effort to increase conservation space to 19% from 8% under the newly established wildlife census will be a great step towards sustainable tourism.
Further afield, UK wage growth failed to keep up with the high cost of living between October and December. Officials' figures do show. The Office for National Statistics said wages rose, but when taking inflation into account, pay showed a 0.8% fall. Here are the details of this and other stories making headlines from across the world.
Despite the drop in wage growth, the UK economy continued to recover strongly, with unemployment falling to 4.1% and job vacancies hitting a fresh record high. Unemployment is now only fractionally above where it was before the pandemic. According to the ONS, employees' regular pay, excluding bonuses, grew by 3.7% between October and December, which is a high compared with rates seen over the last decade. However, the rising cost of food, energy and household goods have pushed inflation up by 5.4% in the 12 months to December. This means that real wage growth fell. The ONS said the labor market was tightening as employers continued to struggle to find the workers they need. The number of job vacancies between November and January hit a new record of 1.3 million, with most industries finding it harder to recruit. Meanwhile, Japan's economy rebounded in the final 3 months of 2021 as falling coronavirus cases helped prop up consumption through rising raw material costs, and a spike in new Omicron variant infections clouded the outlook. Some analysts expect the economy to contract again in the current quarter as rising COVID-19 cases and supply chain distribution eat factory output. The world's third largest economy expanded an annualized 5.4% in October-December after contracting a revised 2.7% in the previous quarter, falling short of a median market forecast for a 5.8% gain. The increase was driven largely by a 2.7% rise in private consumption, which accounts for more than half of Japan's gross domestic product. The expansion compared with market forecast for a 2.2% gain. Finally, an upgraded free trade agreement between China and New Zealand will be effective from April 7th, according to a statement released by the Chinese Ministry of Commerce on Tuesday. The announcement was made by both Chinese Ministers of Commerce Wang Wentao and his New Zealand counterpart Damien O'Connor in a video talk. The two sides agreed to take it as an opportunity to implement the upgraded protocol with high quality and further promote bilateral trade and investment. Regarding trade of goods, the upgraded FTA will see both countries open their markets for certain wood and paper products and optimize trade practices such as rules of origin, technical barriers to trade, and customs facilitations, according to MOFCOM.
In sports, we do begin in China, where one of the fiercest rivalries in global sports will renew itself this week in Beijing after the United States and Canada reached the women's Olympic ice hockey final. USA hammered Finland 4-1 in the semi-finals, while Canada thrashed Switzerland 10-3.